you look at them and he's just being just awful, and at the same time you think, oh God, I really love you.
How old is your boy?
He's 3.
Yes, we're in the same ship, you and me. Yes, my boy's the same age. There's times where like this morning, he's all sort of poorly under the weather, so he wants to like just be skin to skin with me and just holding me. And he says like, "Do you know I love you?" And it's lush, right? And then within 60 seconds, I want to kick him out a window. You know what I mean? It's so dramatic, isn't it? Before the show starts, I just want to say thank you to Graham's Windows and Doors for always sponsoring us. They're sponsoring us as a podcast and for the upcoming free Toys for Kids event we're doing. Go on our Facebook page, you'll see all about that. So thank you, Graham's Windows and Doors, Yeovil's finest purveyor of windows, doors and conservatories. James and Sherelle, we're so grateful for you. We really, really appreciate it. Go to grahamswindowsanddoors.co.uk. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to the Steve Kalis Show. I'm Steve Kalis and I'm joined as usual by Lissy Jane. Lissy Jane, are you okay?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. And we're joined by special guest co-host Annie Toombs. Annie, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
I'm all right, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. Yeah. So you have been sort of all over the internet and TV recently. What is it that you've been doing? Why have you been getting? What is it that you've been pushing and publicising, and what is it that you're up to at the moment?
So it basically started off by just sort of standing for what I believe in, and that kind of transpired into this whole like maternity journey. Where I have just been able to hear like thousands and thousands of women's maternity journey, like whether that's good or bad. And that obviously then transpired into doing my own podcast and loads of media attention, just doing radio after radio. Like I think it was last week, I was on the radio with Nikki Campbell. And that's like massive. Like I don't understand. Like I was like, what's going on?
Wow.
And yeah, so it's just been a really. And then I went on ITV News. So these things have just been thrown at me, and I've just been like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. So what was the initial spark? What was the thing that you were passionate about that you wanted to talk about?
I think.
What is it about maternity journeys in general that you want to? Why is that the thing you want to talk about and focus on?
Because I don't feel like enough women that go through that experience are able to feel like they can have their voice heard. Not in the system that is currently going on right now. So I thought it was really important that everybody or every woman has a voice in that, including myself. So with the media, I've been sharing my own story, my maternity story, which wasn't, and I really hate saying this out loud, but it's very true. It wasn't as horrific as other women's. And that's a really awful thing to say because it just shouldn't be horrific, full stop. But there was things that happened to me that shouldn't have happened. And that's the same with quite a lot of other women. Sure. And it's just important.
Yeah, I totally agree. So then you felt passionately about this, and then you started a Facebook group, is that right?
Yeah.
Just to gather people together?
Yeah, so I originally started that Facebook group, the Mums and Munchkins, at the start of the year, and I was just expecting to have like 10 mums on it, and now we have nearly 900.
Wow.
And
amazing.
that just covers areas in Somerset, Dorset and Devon. And I will just share whatever pops up on my newsfeed, whether that's like a baby and toddler group next week or whatever it may be. And then there's so many professionals in there. So if you've got a child that struggles with sleep, you can just hop on, and then that professional will be like,
excellent. Oh yeah, well, that's good. That's handy.
Yeah, you can get so much help and support. And we've got a WhatsApp group. It's just a really, oh my God, it's just such a lovely community. It's so lovely.
That's great. So what was Lissy Jane? You've had 2 maternity journeys. What were they like? Any sort of what's your experience? Because one was 16, 17 years ago. How old?
15.
15. So one was 15 years ago, and one sort of more recent, sort of post-COVID times. Was there a difference between the two? Was it better?
Well, I think it's just different because I was 15 when I had Oliver, so I had 4 weeks off, and then I had to go back and do my exams.
Right.
And then I had the 6 weeks holiday. So that was kind of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back into year 11 and it was all go, go, go. So I didn't really,
Wow.
because it's funny, when we were in lockdown, I did put something on Facebook. I was like, can I claim maternity allowance from like years ago for now? And then obviously having Eliza in 2022, I'm self-employed. So it was, again, a bit different because...
I mean, the actual, like, what about the actual hospital experience? Did you find that it was...
Oh, totally different.
Yeah?
Oh, I was a child and I was
Right.
treated like a child.
Oh.
I mean, I can remember having Oliver, who's now 16 and a half, and the lady that looked after me, which was actually my mum's friend, had to go off duty because she'd been at the hospital for too long. And I was like, oh my God, don't leave me. So the next lady came in, didn't know, just looked at my notes.
Right.
And already when I had him, went and got a bottle because she presumed I was just going to bottle feed.
Oh, I see.
So that assumption was already made based on, I guess, my age.
Because you're a teen mum.
But I didn't. I was like, no, I want to try. Please let me try. Please let me try and feed my own child.
Yeah.
Which is
I
bizarre.
see.
Whereas as an adult, you're given that information, you're supported more with that decision as an adult, and that those
Interesting.
stereotypes, like assumptions, aren't as much as, I guess,
I see. Yeah, that's really
the
interesting.
first time. Yeah.
So what have you learned from? So obviously you must be gathering and learning so much from all these different mums and their maternity journeys. So what sort of things have you been picking up? What is it that women are struggling with? Are there any are there any popular themes that pop up? Regular things?
Yeah, so majority of it is just isolation and just feeling really isolated. There's another that is not having their voice heard. So like, say for example, like when I rang the labour ward and said that I was having like 4 minute apart contractions, I was immediately not believed and told to stay at home. And she was like, well, because you've not had a contraction on the phone, you need to stay at home. And I'm like, but I am having these 4 minute contractions.
I see.
A lot of women have said, look, there's certain things that I have said and they've not listened to me. The conditions of the hospital has been like a massive topic, and what that looks like.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, especially if you're having a baby in the middle of a heat wave, and what that looks like when you're in hospital because there's no air conditioning, or you've just got one fan on every
It's
ward.
unbearable in their heat
Yeah,
waves, isn't it?
it's
It
unbearable like without a heat wave.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots, and I was actually able. BBC Radio Somerset did a beautiful week series where Charlie Taylor covered women that I managed to get together that were really confident in sharing their story with BBC Radio Somerset, and they ran that along the week, and then at the end of it Charlie interviewed the head of midwifery in Taunton and put these questions to her, and he did a really good job of doing that because he just sort of asked questions that all of us kind of really wanted answering. But better still, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter what she says in a way, because the change has to come from government, and until then nothing can actually change. So these women are just going to keep experiencing, and I'm not saying that all women experience really horrific things, because they don't. I've heard some really lovely stories, but out of the minority of what I've heard, there's like that many lovely and that many
Really?
horrible, and it's like really bad. It's not great.
Yeah, I should have brought my partner on. I should let my partner host this really, because she's much more equipped to discuss it. But she's remained traumatized since giving birth to my son in Yeovil Hospital, because it was during COVID. I wasn't allowed to be anywhere near the place, which I'm still sort of annoyed about. But I understand at the time what they were experiencing. But she said, I was there at the hospital when they weren't believing her when she was saying, no, I can feel it. I can feel him coming. The baby's coming now. And they were going, we'll check back in an hour. And they've been really, I was getting really annoyed. They've been really patronising and really condescending. Okay, well, we'll check back in an hour. I'll give you a call and we'll see how you're getting on. And then within 11 minutes, she was giving birth. So she knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And then they were just like that. I guess because they're battle hardened. They've seen it all, I guess. But you have to, especially because that's Misha's first. That was her first son, so she was scared. And how many kids have you got?
One,
yeah. So what was your experience like with it?
Just not great. I mean, I think you either really love pregnancy or you don't. And like pregnancy for me, I just would never want to do it again. I hate it. No way. I just actually don't want to do any of it again. And then labour was just, if I hadn't have decided to ignore them and still gone in and got checked, within like a minute of being in that labour room, my waters broke and Eli was here within an hour and a half. I had no time for pain relief. I had nothing. So it just, he shot out.
Yeah.
And so that was like just kind of an experience. And then just sort of, we were just at the end of the pandemic, so we still had to do COVID tests and have masks on. And luckily my partner was able to be there with me. But then I was like left on the ward on my own, and I was told that I was going to be shown all these things, and I never was. And it got to the point where I asked to leave the same day that I had Eli. I was just like, you need to get me out because I want to be at home now. And it's sad because I'm not doing it again, I won't get the chance to maybe have another better round.
Do you find that when you talk about not wanting to have another kid and just want to keep the one, because that's the same with us. We're very content to just have the one because it was all very stressful. We've had tonsillitis for a year and a half.
Oh my God, I'm with you.
It's been a nightmare. Right? It's a gift, it's a joy.
Yeah.
But it's also it's a nightmare. But he had his tonsillectomy 3 days ago.
Right, okay.
So it's just now he's healing there.
Right.
But the last year and a half of that has been a nightmare. So we're quite open about saying, no, we're all right. We're good for just having the one. But do you as a woman find that you get people going, so when you having another one?
All the time. All the time. Like I there's like some people that say it and I'm like, and there's my friends that always joke around saying, so it's fine. But and I also used to have quite a few friends that used to say, you don't want the one because they'll end up being spoiled. You don't want that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and you just think like, I'm just going to do me over here. So like but I'm open to admit that I'm not. I got asked the other day by a reporter, and she was just like, because what happened, because certain things that you experienced, she was like, is that one of the reasons why you won't do it again? And I said, well, we'll be honest, that is in with the reasons why I won't. Yeah. But then also you have to flip it in the sense of like, that might not happen to me this time. I might have the best time in the world and it might be great.
I'd want contractual guarantees going in. Is it going to sleep? Is it going to get tonsillitis? I want to know all these things going in first, and then once those things are agreed, I'll go, well, then I shall certainly consider it. Because those things are fucking terrible. So, yeah.
I know, yeah. So it is tough, and just parenthood in itself is like, God, like as well as it just being, well as it being just like the best thing in the world, and you look at them, and he's just being just awful, and at the same time you think, oh God, I really love you.
How old's your boy?
He's 3.
Ah, yes, we're in the same ship, you and me. Yes, my boy's the same age. There's times where, like this morning, he's all sort of poorly under the weather, so he wants to like just be skin to skin with me and just holding me. And he says like, "Do you know I love you?" And it's lush, right? And then within 60 seconds, I want to kick him out a window. You know what I mean? It's so dramatic, isn't it? It's so and it's worse, especially if you're in a relationship, you get sleep deprived and stuff.
Yeah.
And like there's times where we hadn't slept for months and wandered around. I just hate everyone in this house. Why is no one letting me sleep? I'm just really bitter and annoyed.
It is like that. But you're just like, your emotions are just changing like at such a fast pace all the time. So it is really difficult. It is the best thing in the world, but it's also. But
those things are lovely and freeing to talk about, because it's so hard to explain to people without kids that joy. Because all my friends will ever hear is me go, bollocks, fucking hell, I slept for 3 days and I'm pissed off with this, and you're just moaning. But they don't then, because it's not easy to describe the deep, endless well of love and joy that you get when it isn't those moments. You know what I mean? And it is like, but that's the reward, I suppose. You're struggling with this thing, and the reward is the love you get back and the pride you feel in it. But the funny things about whenever I know someone who's about to have a baby, I'm always supportive, because the last thing you want is for going, when someone's got a young baby and someone goes, wait till they get to 2, wait till they get to 4, and you go, just shut up, yeah, fucking Jesus Christ. Even now they get like, I go, Lee's been a bit pain in the ass, going, wait till it hits teenage years. I go, you can say something else.
I love it when people say that to me. I'm like, I'm living it.
Yeah, you know.
Not terrible twos. I've also got a 16-year-old. I know.
You're the pro.
Pipe down.
You're right in the trenches. Yeah.
Both ends.
But those things are lovely to actually talk about. And I always say, like breastfeeding for one, because me and Misha were very close. We spent all this time together. So the breastfeeding feeding thing, I wish we'd been talked to more about that and how hard that is, how mentally difficult it is if you're not able to breastfeed for so long. Cluster feeding. Right, cluster feeding. They should say, the minute you go to a doctor and they say, I'm pregnant, they should go, let me tell you about something. Cluster feeding. It's horrible. It's going to ruin your life. And for a month or however long it goes on for, you're going to hate everything around you and never sleep again because it's constant feeding, which is why we went up to bottle feeding in the end, because he just wasn't getting enough. But those things, that should be a clear, you're pregnant? Watch out for cluster feeding. And then all the nice stuff that comes
I don't think
with
I was ever told about that. I had to look it up.
Yeah, we had to learn it on the spot.
Yeah, this is another thing for me at the moment as well, is that I actually managed to, before I came here, I spoke to a BBC reporter who is covering a thing at the moment. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's basically to do with the statistics of the shaken baby syndrome has gone up massively, right? So she was basically saying, look, I'm looking at like different things. We're trying to set out this certain thing of trying to set out more advice and more support for mums. And what was your experience when your baby was crying and what did you feel? Yada, yada, yada. And I said, that all sounds great, but what does this look like for a single mum? That might have more than one child, that has no family or support, which I hear on a regular basis in my group. What happens if she can't just put her baby down and leave the room for 5 minutes just to like, what does that, like, I don't understand. And I said, what would really be great is that you just have this like booklet or pamphlet or leaflet when you're going to your midwife appointments, and it has everything in that, right? So whether that's like different numbers on if you experience this, then call this is what this looks like. It doesn't have to be too much, but there's so many things that I literally was not told when I was pregnant. I like, for example, we've just covered postpartum psychosis on my podcast, and I didn't know what postpartum psychosis was until a year ago. I'm 3 years in being a mum and I didn't know what that was. So if that happened to me, I wouldn't have known what was going on with me.
Postpartum psychosis?
So it's like when you go into this massive deep state of like unknown, and you will just see things that are not there. You will hear things that are not there. It's like a whole psychosis world of just madness. And they still don't really know actually why that can even happen so short after having a baby. But still, it's something that and there's a lot of mums that come forward and say, we weren't told about this, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is ridiculous. Like, how are we in 2024 and there's women still and dads saying that?
Like when you are pregnant, you have that book, don't you? Is it a green book?
Yeah.
The pregnancy book.
The red book. Yeah, it's red now. Yeah.
And it's got all the numbers, just in case something happens. But then you give it back. So all the numbers have gone.
I'm gonna need to keep that.
And that relationship between, like, that connection that you have with the person that you have, your midwife or whatever they're called. Because health visitors, again, aren't really a thing anymore, are they? No. But you give it back. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
I'm on my own. Yeah. See you later. Have my book with all my data, all my information, but we don't get anything.
Have a telephone book as well. Like, why can't it be like that?
I know.
Like, just a little book. And there's so many women that really love bedtime reading when they're pregnant, because, like, dads are reading books, mums are reading books, like, they're getting prepared, they're getting ready. Yeah. Like, why not just... Why? It's so frustrating.
It like a little, like, post-pregnancy Bible of key numbers.
That's so you can just like, if your baby's experiencing something like there and then, you can just think, right, hang on, I'm just going to check just to see if it's in here. If it's not, right, we'll do 111, we'll do whatever.
But that's why your Facebook group's so important, isn't it? So you can say, here's what I'm doing right now. What, any ideas, any suggestions? It's
so valid. Like, it's just so important. I think that's why I'm just really...
If you think about the parenting, because there was a time when, and I've always been open about it, I love being a dad. It's the best thing in the world. But there was a time when Leo was about 6 weeks old where I was holding him, and I thought to myself, I regret doing this. Because me and Misha hadn't been together very long before the pregnancy. So we hadn't had enough time really to enjoy each other. Yeah. And the first 6 weeks were tricky. We got lucky then for a year, but the first 6 weeks were really rough. I remember holding him thinking, I do regret doing this. And then, but the guilt and the shame of that was dreadful. I cried and it was awful. But if you think about it's totally reasonable to have a post-birth breakdown, because it's like, oh, here's the hardest thing you're ever going to do. We're going to leave you to it. Boom,
And it's grief as well. You are grieving. Did you experience that? Like you kind of grieved your life before, which is horrible to say, but it is an element of grief, isn't it? Yeah.
I think it's like consistent grief even with Leo, where I miss every previous version of him.
Yeah.
Where I go, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to the mop-head version of him who used to toddle around behind me, and I wish I just held on to that bit of him a little bit more. And I'm going to think the same thing in a year about this version now. And it's just, of course people have mental breakdowns. I think it's weird. It'd be weird if you didn't.
I know.
I think going in
hard as nails.
I'd question your sanity if you weren't going, I think I'm losing my fucking marbles.
I know. But I think it's important that you say that, especially about yourself, just because like with the Mums and Munchkins, I set up Dads and Tots, which is a very similar group. We've only just hit 50 members, which I want it to do better than that. But
hey, we're primarily male listenership. Fellas, what's it called?
Dads and Tots.
Dads and Tots. Facebook, hit her up.
But it just is such a slow burn, and I know why, because men are just not like us women. They're just, oh God, they're so different on so many levels. But it doesn't mean to say that they don't experience certain things when a child comes along.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to try and see if I can sort of provide that support. And I only recently, I don't know whether you've had this, I don't know whether it's actually on the grapevine, but I did say to him that I would be saying it and he was fine. But there's a guy called Steve and Stuart who are just about to bring an Andy's Man's Club to Yeovil.
What's that?
So Andy's Man's Club is like, I'm not sure whether they're a charity or an organisation, but they are a massive men's mental health. Like they are all over Exeter, Honiton, they're everywhere. And there was a big need from sort of different things coming through that Yeovil needed one. So they are literally just about to sort of lift off, which I think is going to be really incredible. So big shout out to them, because they are just incredible what they're doing. And I don't think they get paid an inch, just like I don't. We don't get paid anything. We just do what we do because it's our drive and it's our passion. So I'm hoping that will really take off. And then I've been in talks with a guy called Ollie, who's just set up a boxing studio here. And he's doing a thing for like mums keep fit. Dads can take along their little ones and do boxing.
That's good.
And he's just got such incredible drive. I only really managed to talk to him properly today, and that was just like a voice note here and there. But he's just literally given up his job, done this, and he's got 2 little ones himself. And again, I think that's going to be incredible. And his sort of journey is sort of hitting up the schools and education and sort of working with the youth offending team.
Wow,
that's what we need, because the youth services and everything else is just being stripped back to nothing. We've just nearly lost our only youth club that we've got in Chard. What are the kids going to do now? Like, I don't understand, it's scary. And we've got kids. They have to grow up at some point. And that is like a really scary, that freaks me out. I don't like to think about it too much, I'm not going to lie.
Really scary.
Yeah, well, that's often the question I ask is, how do I prepare my son for the world as he gets older? How do I implement lessons and teachings? How do I dance along the line of discipline and love and safety, and how do I teach him right from wrong, but also not come down so hard that he doesn't want to tell me things. And then how do I prepare him? Do I teach him about politics and history? Will that make a difference? How do you prepare an infant son one day for teenage years and adulthood, and the many the lunacy of the world around us and the geopolitical situation, which is always roiling and boiling and disastrous. So how do you prepare someone to be mentally prepared to deal with existence, for being a human being in a world like this? And the fundamentals I boiled it down to are just teach him to be curious, kind, gentle, but strong. And then hope that those core qualities are enough for him to, as a foundation for him to build on. Because sooner or later you've got to go, well, there's the world. If you need me, I'm here. But otherwise, off you go. And that keeps me awake if I think about that for too long. Because I do you know what's weird. I remember last year I saw an old man, very old, and he was sort of doddering and looked all uncomfortable. He must have been. He looked about 136 years old, right? Yes. And he was
Aged well.
Yeah, look, yeah, it's fine. And he was and walked into the shop, and he was all by himself. And then I started to cry. I was all emotional. I started to cry because I was like, "Oh no, one day my son's going to be an old man, and I'm not going to be able to look after him." And because I'm going to be an even older man. I'm going to be 156. And I'm going to be. And that sort of thing just makes me sad. Like, parenting's fucking exhausting. It's emotionally just like the most stressful thing in the world, isn't it? So, but because it's the love and the fear and anxiety just sort of is debilitating sometimes.
But you have the right values there as foundations.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
but I think we all do. Just you just got to hope the world is kind to them, don't you? You just got to hope the world goes easy on them. And but if it doesn't, you've done enough so that they say, okay, it's not, my world hasn't ended. I've gone through this tragedy, I've experienced this thing, but my parents prepared me enough to tackle it and to absorb it and move on, learn lessons from it, I guess. And, I don't know, man.
I think as long as at the end of it you can say that you've
tried your best.
Yeah, then you've done your bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because then ultimately it's down to them because they become adults.
Yeah, that's right.
It's always a funny topic, isn't it? Like parenthood, but
It's because
you just
it's
never know what is that right thing. What is that?
Yeah, it's because you get wrapped up in just every emotion you feel about it is just a totally exaggerated, extreme version of that emotion. The love, the joy, the fucking anger, everything is just the normal human experience, but a million times amplified.
Yeah.
And then you're expected to just sort of fucking
and every time you do and every time you do a Google search, this is why a book or a Bible would be so good because like I've been doing like sleep research.
Have you heard of leukemia?
But then every ad on social media is aimed at what I've been looking for advice online, and I'm like, and then you're seeing like trying to break the generational cycles and all of this thing. I'm like, stop.
But that's you're right. And that's what we sort of, because me and Misha were very keen on that. That's why I changed my surname.
Yeah.
A new start. The family tree starts with us.
Yeah.
And then. But I still fucking sound like my dad sometimes. And I go, no, stop that to me. Just stop it, Stephen. No. Yeah, and you do, I suppose. That's your blueprint, isn't it? So you want to be new. You want to be better than the parents before you.
Yes.
You want to hope that your kid one day will be a better parent than you.
Yeah.
And then, that's it. That's the hope, I suppose, isn't
it?
Blimey. How's your boy getting on? So 3 years old. How are you finding the threes?
Oh, God. Well, like yourself, he has had like recurring tonsillitis.
Oh, you're going through it as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, brother.
Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to be the type that can just stay at home with a little sniffle and a cough. It's like 999, what's your emergency? And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's like blue lights and hospital. And
that's why because they don't like doing tonsillectomy before. No. I think it's like 5 or 6 or whatever. Yeah. But the reason he's had it done, and we've been on the waiting list for a year and a half, is because it was exactly the same. Just we thought he was going to suffocate all the time. We were always in and out of the hospital. It was just a fucking living nightmare. And now those goddamn tonsils have gone. The battle is won. You know what I mean? They've gone. I almost wanted to say, give me the tonsils so I can throw them in an ocean. You know what I mean? Or throw them in lava. You know what I mean? It's just
get rid of them
like candle.
Get them gone.
Or just punch him on a table. I just wanted that sort of clearance and that closure on him. Right, so how are you dealing with that? Stress is a strain, isn't it?
It's really difficult. Like we're on the waiting list at the moment. Yeah. So we've got all that to come, which is an absolute delight. And he's currently iron deficient, so he really struggles to absorb iron for whatever reason. Oh, wow. But we are now starting to think that because he's had, and this is true by the way, because he's had so many rounds of antibiotics in such a short space of time, I actually didn't know that they can really deplete your tummy of microbiome.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
just gets rid of it. And I think that's what's happened. So then now he's really struggling to absorb like nutrients through food that he actually needs because he's not got that microbiome. So I managed to find him this incredible probiotic. So he's on that. The kid won't stop eating now. So we've gone like right the other way. And we were on the way here and he was just like, And I'm like, you hungry again? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you forgot you've just eaten, mate. But he's honestly eaten us out of house and home. And I said to my partner the other day, I was like, I don't know whether I preferred him not eating. Because this is like, I sit down and he's like, mummy. And I'm like, oh my God, mate. Like, you've just, how you're a gannet. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But it's great. It's incredible. So that's really helped. So he should have a blood test in the next month or so. So hopefully we'll be able to see the difference in that. But it's been really difficult. Like, we've had to stay away as much as I'm not really a big fan of them anyway, but we've had to stay away from like soft plays, and family and friends have had to sort of maybe not come sometimes because their kids are not very well. They're not very well because Eli will just pick it up like that.
Yeah,
so,
keep your grotty kids away from my son.
yeah. So I'm like, I think we'll do another day, because I just don't have the ability to just live in hospital all the time. It's so, oh my God, it just breaks you down.
I totally understand how you're feeling. We've been exactly right there, it does. Once he was in hospital he got in at 8, tonsils were out by 9:30.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're at the minute they've hired I think it's something like they've hired a secondary team in local ear, nose, and throat hospitals so that they're getting through the list quick.
Okay.
Much quicker than they have done for years.
Right.
So with any luck, you won't be on that list for long.
Yeah.
Hopefully your wait is much shorter than ours.
Yeah.
And you better get through.
Yeah.
And but there's always I mean, it was talking about the probiotics. That's one of the things that like mums are amazing. Like this, when he started having his antibiotics all the time, Misha was like, well, let's get probiotics and regularly give it to him. And that's one of the many things where I find myself going, how the fuck you know that? Where's that fucking knowledge come from? How did fucking Stephen Hawking all of a sudden?
Misha, you're a wizard.
Yeah, and she just prepped and knows all the stuff.
Yeah,
and it's impressive. Mums are amazing.
I think it's just because we know, like, we just know something's up, and like
that
then
magic mum sense. Is,
the mum. Oh God, what's it called? But the mum sense is that's the thing. I always say that is a thing, like because you just feel it. Like there is no. Yeah. It's very strange. Really, really strange.
Intuition.
Yeah, and funny enough, since he's been poorly, I've never not been wrong about him. Like I've always, like, there was a time where I packed a bag for hospital before he even started to show symptoms of what I knew he was gonna do. And my partner was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna get a bag ready because I know that this is imminent. We're gonna go."
Mum sense is tingling.
Yeah, and he was like, "No, don't be silly." He was like, "You're being really silly." I was like, "I'm not." Anyway, it was like early hours of the morning, and I was like, "Well, that's why I packed a bag." And he was like,
"In your face."
All right.
Now let's get to the hospital.
Yeah, so I always got that, and with his tonsillitis as well, he would always spike. I don't know whether your little boys had this, but it always spike in like a certain temperature, which then would result in a febrile seizure. So he would febrile seizure after febrile seizure, and he had his first one actually when he was 9 months old.
They're terrifying, aren't they?
They are vile, but when you get to hospital, they're so laid back because it's not actually that.
Is it?
It's not that. It's not that of a big a deal actually, but because you haven't actually witnessed it, like it's like it is actually really traumatic.
That was the constant thing. We're constantly battling against fucking knackered, apathetic, lethargic doctors, and who were consistently wrong. Do you know who our saviour was? There's a doctor surgery on Preston Road. Yeah. That's not our surgery. But one night, after I reckon about 7 months, they said that because there wasn't any white stuff on his tonsils, he didn't need whatever the medication was. So he didn't need the bacterial.
Oh, okay.
Or they were treating him. No, they were treating him for bacterial, which means that the white stuff on his tonsils, but it wasn't any. But they kept just treating him for that anyway. But what he needed the whole time was the steroids for his tonsils.
Right.
And so, but we kept saying, no, there's no white shit on his tonsils. It's just it's flaring up. It's like the muscle of it's flaring up. And then we took him to an emergency appointment at like 11 at night to see I reckon he was just some rambling, drunk, genius doctor. And we took it to him. But he was fucking unreal. He goes, what have they been giving him? We go, the bacterial stuff. Yeah, they're treating him for the bacterial tonsillitis. He goes, but there's no shit on his tonsils. I go, that's what I'm saying. I've been saying that for 6 months. And he goes, this is what you want. And he gave us these steroid tablets to fizz and let him drink. And it fucked off for about 4 months.
Wow.
4
Oh my God.
blissful months of sleep and peace. And the next time when it came back, we took him to the hospital again, and they said, well, I'll treat him for bacterial. And we went, no. drunken doctor from 4 months ago solved this mystery, and then we always then knew to go for the steroid route instead of the bacterial route.
See, I've never even been. That's never even been mentioned to
That's
us.
what I'm
That's
saying.
crazy.
If the tonsils are white with stuff, that's bacterial, and they need to be treated for bacterial tonsillitis. If they're not white with stuff, then they need a steroid treatment to help the inflammation go down so they can breathe better.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and this dude was all fucking like. So I honestly, I swear he was drunk. He sat in his chair, all pissed up, just saving the day. Like, yeah, you fucking need some steroid stuff. Yeah, whatever. Take some of this shit. Get out of my business. And I was like, okay, great.
Fair enough.
And yeah, we're so grateful to him. We've always wanted to try and find out who he is to thank him, but we didn't get his name. It's like it wasn't real. It's like I hallucinated the whole thing. Yeah.
Maybe you did.
Yeah, maybe I did. Yeah. But it was really, really weird. But yeah, that's our experience with it.
I think as well, like it takes you to see like 10 doctors that oh god, how do I word this? That don't maybe listen to see one finally after you've seen all those that like, right, okay, please tell me what's been going on, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm finally being listened to. Because just I think the whole journey so far, I have literally it's taken me so long to keep fighting because he's not got a voice, he can't do that right now. So that means that we need to do it, right? But when you're fighting against a system that is currently not working right now, you find yourself like shouting down the phone, these poor people. I've always said, look, I know it's not your fault, but you need to understand that this is the 7th phone call that I've made today. Yeah. No one is listening to me. So it makes the whole process actually a lot more stressful when it really doesn't need to be.
I tell you, we've felt that desperation, that loneliness, that isolation because the fucking medical people you rely on aren't paying attention and listening to you. Because what you want to do is you want to grab them by the fucking head and say, listen to me.
Yeah.
Listen, I tell you, I haven't slept for 3 fucking days and you're in danger. Just listen to what I'm saying. I mean, because you just feel like losing your fucking marble. Yeah. And when you go and, especially when it's been days without sleep, he's obviously struggling. Well, until the minute he gets in the hospital.
Oh, I know.
And suddenly, look, everything's fine. And you go, fucking wake up, no, just start coughing. And then the doctor goes, some depressed doctor that's worked a 37-hour shift going, tonsillitis. Whoa, why didn't you try that? And you go, just stop. Go and have a nap and then come back. It's pissing me off. I've built up frustration with this because it's been dragging on for a long time. So,
yeah, it's hard. But other than that, he's a lovely, thriving little boy that just sucks the energy out of me on a daily basis. So it's fine. We're just rolling with it.
Just go with it.
Yeah. My mum always says, I think the umbilical cord is still attached because I think he's draining. And I'm like, he's literally like a Dementor of Harry Potter. Suck the soul. So it's hard work, but I love him.
Yeah,
I do.
It. Yeah, that's it. That's good. Yeah. Well, listen, that I was going to do the segments and the sections and stuff we usually do, but God damn it, we got right to the meat of this stuff early on. So I don't think we need to meander and deviate. I think we can, unless there's anything you want to go over, I think we can call that a podcast. Is there any points that you want to hit that you haven't so far?
No, I think recently doing the media stuff that I have is sort of like I've just been saying, I've been, this is Mums and Munchkins, just as and tots, this is my Mum podcast, but I haven't really been able to delve much into it, whereas you've obviously given me the opportunity to do that tonight. So
that's the beauty of podcasting.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
so you can just do it for hours and hours and hours if you want to. It's glorious. Lizzie Jane, anything you want to discuss or any points you want to raise before we finish?
I don't think so, no.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
that was a good discussion. Yeah.
It was good, yeah. As soon as the topic of tonsillitis comes up, I started immediately go, I know! It's like, I could sort of rant about it for hours. Because I'm lucky in my experience as a dad where, I've had an equal part in raising him. I'm not like Dad who comes home at the end of the day for a few hours, and I'm home with him up until we started nursery or full time. A few months ago, I'm with him all day. Whilst Misha's at work because I work at the book end of the day. Right. So lucky I get to work full time hours and then be with him all day. So I was just there for all of it, all the ups and downs, all the trials.
Are you classed as like a stay-at-home dad then?
Oh, I guess so. I mean, I'm not. I work full time. I got 3 jobs, and this. But during the day, up until recently, because now he's at nursery, right? So now I can do this during the day or pick up extra hours. But I was for most of his life. I was there sort of Monday to Friday with him all day because I work from 6 till 9 or 10 in the morning. Okay. Then Mish comes home then, say 4 or 5. I go back to work until later on in the evening. So it's long days in knackering, but it meant I get to see my boy all day. So yeah, it's lush. Yeah, I was sort of lucked out there. But also it means I had to also experience all these dreadful things that, you know, if I just worked normal hours, I probably would have dodged most of it. So, yeah. But listen, I want to say, thank you so much for coming on the show. What's the name of your podcast and where can people find you?
Mindful Mums podcast.
Mindful Mums.
And you'll find me on Facebook. You'll just find all the relevant information you need to know on there for now, but I'll keep you posted on it on that page.
Sure thing.
I'm just coming up with loads of different things all the time. But that's the main page where you'll find everything.
Okay, great. Listen, Jane, where the hell can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram at bmusicyeoval, and then loving TikTok at the moment. So come say hey.
I've seen you.
Lissy Jane vocals.
You nailed
Amazing.
that singing challenge. Is that
How
video
cool
where
was that?
you have to sing and the note you sing moves the ball and it goes through like a hole, doesn't it? So you have to nail the note. You might have been the only person I've ever seen totally, absolutely.
Well, it's funny because Flick, I was teaching yesterday, and on my break, I had a message from Flick, next door neighbour, but I sing with her, and she sent me the video, and she's going nuts because the ball keeps like going above or below, and she's like, I was like, oh, this looks like fun, so I'm going to give it a go, and it just seamlessly. But to be fair to myself, I was teaching a song from Phantom of the Opera. So I was on that operatic sort of tone.
Yeah.
So the ball flew through all the holes, and she's like, fuck off.
Yeah, you really smashed it. Yeah, you really nailed it. I was really impressed. Well, listen, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Both of you, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Listener, I really want you to listen to me. If you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed any episode we've ever done, then get to Spotify, click follow, and leave us a 5-star review. Those things really, really matter. That's the thing that we don't care about the other platforms. Spotify is where we want to focus. So click follow, leave us a 5-star review. Those things will help propel us up the Spotify charts, and we'll be very, very grateful. Thank you so much for listening. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all next time. Ciao, 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 ciao.